started.
Paulie,
What's up, guys?
how you doing? So you were talking about yesterday. You did an interview where you talked about.
You guys all gotta you have before you listen. You have to tell me where you're from, websites or whatever, or location. But obviously, you got some guys I know. You guys I know, but I want to know where everybody's from.
Cool. I'm with my MMA News.
Miami, okay.
Go on. Sorry. You were talking about yesterday how you have an advantage over a lot of the guys in the promotion because of your experience and stuff. You talked about placement and balance, how you can keep up delivering punches with power. Is there anything you're working on as far as like not having the gloves on, protecting your hands, stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I think there's always adjustments to be made as far as the way you're going to throw punches, as far as the way you're going to even receive punches and whatnot. We're obviously working in some way, shape, or form to make those small adjustments. But I think your base is your base. Whatever base you have. My base is boxing. But of course, there's some fundamental differences where we will be working on, and we have been working on. And so we plan on making the adjustments we need to make, but also keeping the things we want to keep. And I think proper balance, proper shape is very important in this, regardless of what your background and where you're coming from. I think when you throw haymakers and when you throw big shots, it puts you out of position to follow up. At least follow up instantaneously with the way fighters or boxers like to do. I have that. I feel like I have that advantage where I can follow up instantaneously. If I hit you with one, I'm gonna hit you with four. Especially barehanded, I'm very fast, and I'm gonna make sure it's not pretty.
Paulie, difference boxing now. Question like this: have you ever seen these fights? It's very local.
Yeah, I have. I've watched a few of the fights. Like I said, there are definitely some fundamental differences. There's also some things that boxers can take advantage of, and there's also some things that can be taken advantage of where boxers may not be used to it. So like I said, there's adjustments to be made. There's also things that need to be used that you would maybe be in your arsenal that you can use, and also maybe you use more specifically in bare knuckle than you would in regular glove boxing. But there are things, regardless, nonetheless, that there are things you will be using and you will need to take with you in this, of course.
Drop the knowledge. People that don't know nothing about bare knuckle boxing. How many rounds? How many minutes each round? What is the deal? How's this whole thing working there, man?
I've been told they're 5 2-minute rounds. They could be 7 2-minute rounds, depending on, I guess, the importance of the fight or whatnot. Regardless, it's fine with me. There's, like I said, I think the reason for the 7 2-minute rounds, obviously, you're probably taking more damage with bare knuckles. You also, the clinch work is a little different. There's more probably, I feel like you're doing more work in the clinches as opposed to in the clinches in boxing. You can pick up a couple of cheap rests, But of course, it goes both ways. Mixed martial artists rest a lot in the guard. Boxers will get a shorter rest, but nonetheless a small rest in the clinches. I think those kind of go out the window a little bit. In the clinches here in BKFC, because it seems like a lot of the clinches in BKFC are based on different kinds of work. So there's definitely a fundamental difference there, and I think because of that, the 7 2-minute rounds are probably good and plenty.
Well, it's Michael from USA Today and MMA Junkie. What was the motivation for doing this? I mean, obviously you've done very well broadcasting, all that kind of stuff. Why did you decide to come back to fight bare knuckle now?
There wasn't really a motivation per se. When it was first brought up to me, I didn't even really consider it. I just thought it was like a joke. I was talking to Dave Feldman. We were guests on a podcast, MMA podcast, radio show in Vegas, and he was very nice, and we were just chatting it up. And we actually started talking about the broadcast part of it, and I'm allowed to work with other networks as long as it's not competing with Showtime. So we're talking about that, and Dave just mentioned, well, what about you fighting, And I didn't really consider it, I was like, nah, I don't think it's for me, I'm kind of good where I'm at right now. But then he started throwing out numbers that, started to get my attention, numbers that I would say, that if they were there for boxing, I'd probably be fighting, but they're not, so I'm not, I don't have to fight, but if you give me a certain number, you may get me to consider it. And Dave kind of reached those points, so then it got me past that step A, which step A was getting past the first part of the conversation. And once we got past that first part of the conversation, things started coming together easier, and here we are.
Yeah, you've obviously been around the fight game a lot, but now that you're planning to come back, you're probably starting to train, starting to think about it. What does it feel like? Does it feel different, especially since it's a different environment? Like, do you feel kind of newborn again in that sense?
I don't think you're ever reborn. I think guys tell you that, or just kind of motivate themselves. But I do think that in 2 years you miss it. It feels good to kind of be back in shape. It feels good to throw punches and throw sharp shots and see combinations coming together. and it feels good just to have that kind of looking forward to something. You know, like I think for the duration of your combat sports career, even right after a fight, you know, you're not looking forward to a fight, but you know you will be training again for a fight. You have something to look forward to. And you know, for the past couple of years, I haven't really had that to look forward to. You know, it's kind of been just like chilling out, having a good time, but at the same time not having that goal-oriented mind. You know, and all of a sudden now you put a fight in front of me, and I'm training for it, and it gets me excited to be in the gym every day. I'm sure there will be days where it's not so fun. Right now we've just started camp, and obviously every day is fun. You know, right now every day is like, you know, what I have to look forward to. You know, and that way I feel mentally reborn, and that, you know, I'm excited about it. But like I said, I'm sure over the course of a long camp, there's going to be times where, you know, I'm going to be waking up and be like, oh, this sucks. You know, but I think that's par for the course. You know, overall though, I do feel mentally rejuvenated, as far if that's probably the correct word to say. I don't think you're ever physically rejuvenated, but I think mentally you can find motivation, and it can push you and spur you on to push yourself and be a positive person in regards to chasing certain goals.
Oscar Willis, Maglev, do you think your boxing pedigree brings legitimacy to bare knuckle boxing?
Absolutely, I do. I think honestly, any names bring legitimacy to bare knuckle boxing, bring legitimacy to bare knuckle boxing. I think BKFC is the fights I've watched. They're actually fun fights. You know, it's a promotion that I think people would enjoy watching if it has the correct eyes on it. And I think they've just needed to legitimize themselves by signing some recognizable fighters. You know, right now the recognizable fighters are still kind of sticking to what they do. Well, you mixed martial artists in their prime are sticking to MMA fights, and boxing fighters in their prime are sticking to boxing. You know, but I do think that getting the eyes on somebody like myself, which will bring more eyes to the sport in general, I think we'll open up fighters' eyes and say, you know what, maybe there's money to be made here. Maybe I can do this. Maybe this is something that could be for me as an option or an avenue for it. And you know, you may see more fighters coming over in their prime. I do think that better fighters will continue to come over. If you look at boxing 120 years ago, I don't think it was the level that it was today. You know, guys' punches were wider, guys would go now more balanced. Now they're very sharp, very good fighters. The early UFC tournaments were much more primitive, tough, absolutely, but much more primitive than you see the modern mixed martial artists at world-class level, where they're just so precise with everything they do. You know, and so I think bare knuckle boxing will also come into that phase as well, where right now you do see a lot of primitive skills coming in, and some really sloppy stuff at times. But I do think as it gains more legitimacy, more fighters will come to BKFC, and then more fighters coming to BKFC, you will also have some good fighters, even world-class fighters, starting to get there, and I think you're going to see some very, very good fighters come over in the long run. Just like as you saw the other sports kind of growing, the other promotions, the other brands growing in that way as well.
Homie, you said the motivation, the money's right to take a fight. You're in here, you're taking this fight. But is there a title with this organization, Bare Knuckle Boxing?
I think there's probably titles. I don't know what the ultimate goal would be. Right now, I just kind of came in, and it tickled my fancy. You know, financially tickled my fancy, and also just the opportunity to, you know, have, like I said, I was telling you before, to have that goal-oriented mind. Just wake up in the morning and have something to chase, something to look forward to, something to do. You know, and like I said, not that I wasn't enjoying my life before, but you know, when you have that edge of rush and adrenaline that you always lived by, after a while you kind of feel like something's missing, you know. And so you know, obviously I haven't competed in this yet, but just getting ready for it every day has given me like a new lease on life, so to speak, and a new excitement to get up every day and have a goal and have a plan for that day, and have a goal and have a plan for that training camp, you know. And so you know, I don't know, you know, obviously money was important. I wouldn't have got past that pay if the money wasn't right. But once we got there, you know, I can be excited about all the other stuff we ended up talking about, because even with the money, some other things had to come together, and I think it has.
And just to be clear, just so there's no illusions, the plan is to fight Artem in June, around that sort of time?
You know, without disrespecting Jason Knight, because we'll see what happens Saturday, I think that the promotion obviously would want to see Malignaggi and Lobov in June or summertime, whatever, you know. I don't have a problem with it. At first I thought it was a ridiculous fight. I really didn't think there was much to it, you know, but I do see that it's picking up traction. I do see that, you know, even you just asked me about it. I see that fans in general are talking about it. So I guess it's a fight that that maybe should be made. I don't know. You know, I guess we'll see Saturday, because you also don't want to put the cart before the horse. You know, maybe Artem wins Saturday, it looks like dog shit. You know, and that kind of kill the promotion. Or maybe Artem wins Saturday with his cut, or maybe Artem doesn't win Saturday. You know, I don't think much of Artem as a fighter. I'll be fairly honest with you. You know, I think he's a good punching bag. You know, he lasts, he takes a good shot, and he takes a lot of them. But I don't rate him as a fighter on skill set and on ability. You know, but
you know, I guess everybody else kind of is talking about it and is discussing it. And anytime you have something like that, I guess you have potential to sell it and market something very well.
Well, with the history with McGregor, it just makes all the sense in the world, right? This sort of feels why the promotion would have brought you in, is to fight Artem.
Yeah, because you can't get Conor in there. You know, Conor has his own things going on, and you can't get Conor in there. So I guess maybe the next best thing is to put one of his boys in the hospital. You know, and that's the goal. Really. If I get somebody in Conor's team into the cage with me, onto the ring with me, whatever they are over here, the goal is not just to win, because of course I'm going to win. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a foregone conclusion of me winning a fight like this, you know, against any mixed martial arts fighter. But so it's the goal would be I have to really excel at something more. You know, just beating a guy like this is basically like beating a guy in my first 5 pro fights. You know, it doesn't really do anything for me on an adrenaline basis. It's a fight I look at it like I'm supposed to win it. It's a fight like I look at it I'm supposed to be superior to him, and it's a fight that I look at it like, you know, it's kind of expected. So the goal would be to put him in a hospital and make sure he spends most of the summer in the hospital. That would be the goal for me.
Did you train with him or any of other Conor's teammates when he got brought in, or was it just Conor?
I spent time with some of the other guys, but not Artem, because Artem actually, they're like him and Conor are tight, so he stayed in the other house with the trainers. You know, they had a nicer house, and some of the others farm money. We were like a lower level house, just to put it mildly. So there was not really a lot of communication with Artem. The only communication was one day when me and Conor sparred, he used to yell at good work. You know, he just came up to me, and that was it. You know, but that was it. You know, I saw him do some work with Conor in boxing in the gym. I remember thinking this guy's really bad. Like, I didn't think Conor was that good, but he was bad. He was really bad. Like, so if he's anything like that, I mean, I worry for him for Saturday night too, because anybody can win that fight. So I know I've been told by people that Jason Knight is more of a ground guy than a stand-up guy. I don't know what his strengths are, but if Artem is anything like I saw him 2 years ago in that training camp, I mean, any punch could potentially land on him. You know? So I don't know what the deal would be, but you know, hopefully for him, he's improved a little bit, you know, and we'll find out Saturday night.
Paulie, you start there with 80 boxing.
I should be there. I should be there.
Start there with 80 boxing. Knowing that Conor McGregor retired, leaves the market open for him to compete wherever he wants. Do you feel like that fight between you and has to happen here in bare knuckle fighting championship? Not looking past your next opponent.
I think if me and Conor were to fight, bare knuckle would be a good median, so to speak. You know, me not going into the cage and him not coming to a boxing fight. Sure, you know, I think you kind of look at it like you know, we kind of meet in the middle, so to speak, and in this kind of bare knuckle situation, I don't see it as a problem. I see it more as a good solution. You know. But I've gone over this before. You know, I think Conor can lose to anybody except me, because if he loses to me, people know he lied, and I think your fans forgive you for a lot of things, and your fans don't forgive you for lying. You know, so I see Conor as really fighting anybody but me, despite the money, despite whatever's been thrown in, because he's been offered more money to fight other guys to fight me than he has for anybody else aside from Floyd. You know, he can't get Pacquiao, he can't get Canelo, so those fights are out there when they even bother talking about them. But as far as realistic fights. He was getting ready to talk about Donald Cerrone. He was a good MMA fighter, but he wouldn't have brought the money that he was fighting me. You know, we can bring more money than he thought that he made the fight to be, but he won't do it. And I don't blame him for doing it. You know, I'll beat the living shit out of that guy if I catch him in any of these things right here. So it's probably better off for him. And he knows it, and I know it, and so you know, just kind of go my own way. You know, I guess it brought me to a different weird situation where now people are talking about me and Lobov, and the way I look at it, me and Lobov, like I said, I don't look at it like a very competitive fight, but I look at it like free money, and I look at it like I can set the goal to a higher standard. I shouldn't just be Lobov, I should put him in a hospital, otherwise it's not like a win for me, you know. And of course, the money they're gonna pay me to fight a guy like Lobov, I mean, it's more money than I made for some of my favorite fights, you know. So and I'm basically fighting a punching bag with legs to get that money. So for me, you know, I can only hope that Saturday goes well for him, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after.
Paulie, they mentioned